When you present a simple, undeniable fact to a narcissist, you might expect a simple, reasonable response. But that is often not what happens. Instead, you encounter a wall. This wall is not built of logic or reason, it is built from a desperate need to protect a fragile ego. For a narcissist, the truth is not a neutral concept. It is a potential threat. If a fact, no matter how obvious, contradicts their self-perception of being perfect, all-knowing or in control, they cannot accept it. Accepting it would mean admitting a flaw, a mistake, or a lack of knowledge, which feels like a catastrophic failure to their entire sense of self. It is a deeply unsettling experience for them, one they will avoid at all costs. This reaction is not about a simple disagreement or a different point of view. It is a fundamental rejection of a reality that does not serve them. Imagine telling a narcissist that they were 30 minutes late for a meeting that started at 2 o'clock and they arrived at 2:30. The clocks, the witnesses, and the schedule all confirm this. Yet, they will not just apologize. They will launch into a defense that defies logic. They might claim the meeting was always meant to start at 2:30, that your clock is wrong, or that you communicated the time incorrectly. The argument is not about the time. It is about them not being the kind of person who is late. Their perfect image must be maintained, even if it means bending the fabric of reality itself. Their resistance is not a search for a deeper truth or a misunderstanding that needs clarification. It is a defensive maneuver, a psychological shield. The moment you present a contrary fact, you are no longer a partner in a conversation. You become an adversary who is challenging their core identity. They perceive this challenge as an attack, and they will retaliate with whatever tools they have. These tools are often bewildering and frustrating for the other person. They include denial, blame shifting, and creating confusion. The goal is to shut down the uncomfortable truth and re-establish their version of events, where they are never at fault and always in the right. This is a core pattern of narcissistic behavior. Understanding this initial reaction is crucial because it sets the stage for the entire interaction. People who are not familiar with this pattern often get stuck. They try to reason, provide more evidence, and appeal to logic. But you cannot use logic to dismantle a wall that was never built with it. The more you push with facts, the more stubbornly the narcissist will defend their position. They are not listening to your evidence. They are only focused on the perceived threat you represent. This is why arguments with narcissists feel so circular and exhausting. You are not actually debating the topic at hand. You are engaged in a battle against their deep-seated insecurity and their need to control the narrative at all times. The way a narcissist argues against the obvious can be breathtaking in its audacity. They do not just disagree, they invalidate the very foundation of the fact itself. Let's take a simple example. You might say, "It is raining outside," while looking at rain pouring down the window. A narcissist who, for some reason, feels challenged by this statement might respond, "No, it's not. The sprinklers are on." When you point out that it's the middle of the day and the sprinklers are never on, they will pivot. Well, it's more of a mist. You're being overly dramatic by calling it rain. They will deconstruct your observation until it loses its meaning, making you question your own senses. This is not a debate about meteorology. It is an exercise in destabilization. This tactic serves multiple purposes. First, it creates chaos and confusion. When someone denies something as plain as the weather, it throws you off balance. You start to think, "Am I going crazy? Was I wrong?" This moment of self-doubt is exactly what the narcissist wants. It shifts the power dynamic immediately. You are no longer on solid ground and they are in the dominant position of defining reality for you. They become the arbiter of what is true and what is not. This is a powerful form of control that goes beyond simple disagreement. It is a way of managing your perception, and by extension, managing you. Another example is denying past events. You might recall something they said or did, something you have a clear memory of. You could say, "Remember last week you said you would call the bank?" The narcissist will often respond with a flat, convincing denial. "I never said that. You must be misremembering. You always get things mixed up." This is gaslighting, a classic narcissistic tool. They are not just arguing against your memory, they are attacking your cognitive competence. Over time, repeated exposure to this can be incredibly damaging. It erodes your confidence in your own mind and makes you more dependent on the narcissist for your understanding of the past. The key to understanding these impossible arguments is to recognize that they are performances. The narcissist is not invested in whether it is raining or not, or whether they promise to call the bank. They are invested in winning the interaction. Each argument is a small battle in a larger war for control. By refusing to concede even the most trivial point, they reinforce their position of superiority. They are teaching you a lesson. My version of reality is the only one that matters. Your perceptions are unreliable and subject to my approval. This is a deeply manipulative strategy designed to keep you in a subordinate role, constantly seeking their validation. When a narcissist argues against an obvious fact, their objective is rarely to prove the fact wrong. The real agenda is much deeper and more self-serving. It is about maintaining power, establishing dominance, and ensuring that they are the one in control of the situation and the people in it. The argument itself is merely the vehicle they use to achieve this. By refusing to accept a simple truth, they are sending a powerful message. I am above the rules. I am above facts. I make the reality here. This assertion of dominance is intoxicating for them, as it reinforces their grandiose self-image as a superior being who is not bound by the same constraints as everyone else. This need for control stems from a profound and often well-hidden insecurity. A person with a stable sense of self can admit they are wrong. They can accept a fact without it threatening their identity. But for a narcissist, any challenge feels like an existential threat. Therefore, every conversation becomes a potential power struggle. By confusing their opponent, they gain the upper hand. When you are busy trying to prove that the sky is blue, you are not talking about their responsibilities, their mistakes, or anything else that might make them feel vulnerable. The confusion is a smokescreen, a diversionary tactic that keeps the focus away from them and puts you on the defensive. Feeling superior is another key motivator. By successfully arguing against something obvious, the narcissist feels clever and powerful. They see you, the person armed with facts and logic, struggling to make your point. In their mind, this is a victory. They have outsmarted you, not with superior intellect, but with a sheer refusal to participate in a rational discussion. This creates a dynamic where you feel foolish for even trying to argue. You might eventually give up, not because you are convinced, but because you are exhausted. For the narcissist, your surrender is proof of their superiority. They have won the engagement and reinforced their position at the top of the hierarchy. Ultimately, the truth is irrelevant in these interactions. Power is the only currency that matters. The narcissist is not trying to collaborate to find a correct answer. They are competing to win. This is why bringing more evidence, more witnesses, or more logical arguments often backfires. It only signals to the narcissist that you are still engaged in the power struggle, and it encourages them to double down on their denials and manipulations. The real goal is to make you so tired, so confused, and so full of self-doubt that you simply stop challenging them. At that point, they have achieved their ultimate objective: complete and total control over the narrative. The constant need to defend obvious truths against a narcissist's arguments has a corrosive effect on your mental and emotional well-being. The primary consequence is a pervasive and crippling self-doubt. After being told repeatedly that your memory is faulty, your perceptions are wrong, and your feelings are dramatic, you begin to internalize these messages. You start questioning your own sanity. This is the fog of narcissistic abuse, a state of confusion where you no longer trust your own judgment. You might find yourself second-guessing simple decisions or constantly seeking reassurance because your internal compass has been so effectively tampered with. This erosion of self-trust makes you more dependent on the narcissist. When you no longer trust your own mind, you may start relying on them to define reality for you. This creates a deeply unhealthy dynamic where you feel you need their approval and validation to feel secure. They become the gatekeeper of your reality. You might find yourself asking for their opinion on everything, not because you value their wisdom, but because you have lost faith in your own. This dependency is precisely what the narcissist wants, as it ensures you will remain under their control. It keeps you tethered to them, unable to leave because you fear you cannot function on your own. The emotional toll is immense. Arguing with a narcissist is profoundly frustrating, invalidating, and exhausting. You feel unheard, disrespected, and crazy. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of learned helplessness. You may start to avoid bringing up any topic that could lead to a disagreement, effectively silencing yourself to keep the peace. You walk on eggshells, carefully managing your words and actions to avoid triggering the narcissist's defensive anger. This self-censorship is a survival mechanism, but it comes at the cost of your own voice, your own needs, and your own identity. You become a smaller version of yourself. Understanding this pattern is the first and most critical step toward reclaiming your clarity. You must recognize that these arguments are not about the truth. They are about power and control. When you understand this, you can choose not to participate. You can learn to disengage. This does not mean you agree with them, it means you recognize the futility of arguing. You can state your truth calmly and then refuse to be drawn into a debate, saying, "I know what I saw," and then walking away is more powerful than presenting a mountain of evidence. It is a way of protecting your energy, preserving your sanity, and taking back your power by refusing to play their game.